crabs are crustaceans that are not truly related to crabs. They live in shells for protection much like turtles, but they have 5 pairs of limbs outside of the shell. When they move from shell to shell, it's called molting. Molting is another way to say that they outgrew their shell. In the next few minutes, I will tell you more about the molting process and how to look for signs for it. Hermit crabs are easy pets to take care of because they don't require a lot of maintenance. They include a tank with bedding and some shells and food and water. There is no one sign for molting, but instead several signs that can be start of the molting process. The first sign is to look for an increase in food and water. This can be hard since they are nocturnal and they do their eating and drinking at night. They do move around during the day, but they leave the eating and the drinking. So if you put a little bit of food in the container at night and it's eaten or all the way eaten, in the morning this can be a good sign. Another sign to look for is an increase in digging. Because they're usually above the bedding, if they start to dig a lot, this can be a good sign too. But the most important sign is to look for a gelatin-like sac underneath the 5th claw. You can look for this if you pick up your hermit crab, and as it outstretches its leg, it will be underneath the 5th pair of claw, which is right there. In the event that your hermit crab does not show any signs, it can be that it will molt above ground. You will, however, see that it will shed its skin, and then you will need to place your hermit crab into a different container. This container should be full of bedding, food and water, and lots of shells. The location of the container should be in a semi-dark place since it's easier to molt in these conditions. If your hermit crab molts above ground, you can spray it with a light mist to keep it cool. However, if it molts below ground, just leave it go. Supply the tank with lots of shells of various shapes and sizes. Your shell should be bigger than the shell it already has, but it doesn't matter if it's plain or decorated. Larger hermit crabs take longer to molt than smaller hermit crabs. They also molt less frequently. Because they do molt less frequently, they get stressed more. Molting for bigger crabs can take weeks, but it's best to leave the crab alone. It is also important to remember that molting can take place for various reasons. Besides the essential way of life for it, it can molt because of a change in environment or because of loss of limbs. Just because your hermit crab loses limbs, however, does not mean that it's going to molt. Most of the time, it will grow back its own limb. It's just stressed. During the molting process, it is safer to not bathe your hermit crab because too much moisture can cause mold or bacteria. And although you're trying to do good, you are doing more harm to the hermit crab. You can spray it with a light mist if it's having a hard time to shed its exoskeleton, but not to the point where it's dripping. After your hermit crab has been moved from one tank to the other and it has moved from one shell to the new shell, you should leave your hermit crab in the tank for a little while longer. It needs to eat its exoskeleton. The exoskeleton has lots of nutrition in it and helps provide the transition to be easier. After the exoskeleton has been eaten all the way, or almost all the way eaten, it is now safe to move your hermit crab back into the original tank. In review, the steps for your molting hermit crab is to look for the signs, which are increase in digging and food intake and water intake, and a gelatin-like sac under the 5th claw. After you look for the signs, put them into a tank when you know for sure, or if you see shedding. After the hermit crab has moved from one shell to the next, you can let it live in there for a little while longer to eat its exoskeleton. And then, when it has eaten its exoskeleton, it is moved back to the original tank where you will not have to look for signs for the next molt for a long time.